Hello again, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Chem Valley Show. This is episode number 18, and we're on day number 23 of, I guess the first lockdown. There's been other lockdowns implemented since then, and I'm kind of done with all the counting the lockdowns thing. So we're on episode 18 here, the Chem Valley Show, and I'm really excited to have my guest joining me today. He's someone I've known for, I want to say like 5 years now. I met him back in, when I did my radio show at Playfair Music on Mitten Street, and we've kind of just built our relationship since then. And I heard a lot of really cool stories from him, so I'm excited to talk to him all about his career and everything he's done. Joining me now is Chuck Howard. Chuck, how's it going?
Good, Aaron. How's it going by you?
Not too bad. How's everything going in these crazy times?
Well, like I mentioned in our little chat ahead of time here, I'm pretty much sticking around home, not doing much of anything now. I was working as a shuttle driver out at Sawmill Creek Golf Course. I've been doing that for about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But since the golf course was sold and large gatherings like golf tournaments and weddings and all that aren't allowed anymore, I'm not shuttling anymore.
So just taking it easy, eh?
You bet I am, yeah.
Yeah. Enjoying the time though? Like, what have you been up to? You were doing a radio show like afterwards out of your basement, right? Like
right,
after the fair time?
You can't see the studio. What's behind me is kind of the shelving where I kept all my CDs and books and stuff like that. But yeah, my master control is just over here on my left side. Yeah, we had some problems, some technical problems in there, and Michelle had to be physically at Playfair to switch me over, and she couldn't always be there. She got a new job, so she couldn't always be there to do it. And then with Steve selling off some of the assets of the bar, the show just kind of ended.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's talk a little bit about how you got into radio, because you got that golden tongue, as everyone can hear now. He's got the most amazing voice, and I remember Steve telling me about you before I had the honor of meeting you back in the Playfair days. And I remember just being out in the hallway and hearing your voice when you went on air, and just being in absolute awe. Like this guy's definitely been around for a long time. And let's talk a little bit about how you got in. Like, how did you get into it? Was it like just something that everyone kind of realized that? Yeah, I got like. You heard your voice and said this is something you should get into, Chuck?
Later on, yeah. Initially, like I was a 13-year-old kid, just ready to go into high school, and they used to have what they call Teen Town dances every Wednesday afternoon at the old Y up here, the Vineyard.
Oh yeah.
They used to have the dances in there, and I got to meet a guy who at that time was my hero. Don Percy. He did evenings here on CHOK in Sarnia, and Don let me intro a couple of records for him. He was there as the celebrity DJ. He let me intro a couple of records for him, and I was hooked after that.
Yeah, it was a lot different back then, eh?
Yeah. They didn't. They didn't have the broadcast schools and stuff like that.
So, did you end up going to broadcast school after that experience?
No, I didn't. I did guest lecture for a while at Lambton College.
Oh, really? So they had a program back then that you could go and take?
A program called RTJ, which was Radio Television Journalism.
Oh, awesome.
I would guest lecture there. I know Steve Glenn, who was big in radio here in Sarnia at one time, he used to lecture there. I think another fellow by the name of Jeff Murray that I worked with, he lectured there. Several of us did. Not on a regular basis. I would only lecture maybe 2 classes a year. But
that's awesome.
Oh, it was fun. I used to I used to get some of the strangest. I used to really get dumped on by some of the instructors.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, because in order to really succeed in radio, you have to be realistic about it. I mean, Nobody's going to walk in and do mornings at Chum or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I used to lecture these kids and tell them, any guys in the class, first of all the guys, I want you to all quit, get out of this class and sign up for home ec, because when or if you do get your first job, it's going to be in some little small town in the middle of Saskatchewan, and there's no McDonald's there. you better know how to cook.
Yeah.
And they get a big laugh out of that. Well, I'm sure a few of them found out the reality of it as time went on.
For sure. When did you kind of pursue your first job in radio? Or were you born in Sarnia?
I was born in London, actually, but yeah, I lived here in Sarnia most of my life. My first full-time job in radio came at CKJD. I had been working part-time there over the years. Yeah, there we are right there. And my first full-time job came in 1973.
Oh, wow. Is that that picture there?
That picture was taken, I believe, when I became program director. Or no, that's the overnight job. That was 1974.
Okay, nice.
So, yeah, I wish I still had that sport coat. I lost it somewhere in my transition.
So what was it like back then, kind of like as things were getting started up? How long was the radio station around when you kind of got into it?
CKJD went on the air in 1968.
Okay.
And I said I had been working there kind of part-time, off and on, not doing any air shifts, but just working in production and stuff like that. And I did some news coverage for them and had the opportunity to go and work full-time in late 73.
That's awesome.
Gary Connors was still working there at the time.
Oh, that's amazing. How long was he there for?
He was there for a couple of years. He had been at CHOK, came over to CKJD, and he worked as a newsman at that time.
So CHOK, what is the CKJD? Is that like what K106.3 would be now, or I guess cool?
Yeah, I guess it is K106. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Nice. So, what was it like back? That would have been rock. You would have been doing back then. Like, were you? What was your music? Like, what were you into back then? Were you more into the rock, or were you?
Who, me?
Always yeah.
Me personally, I was into rock. Yeah, of course. Yeah, but we played the stuff that at that time was contemporary. What can I say? Allman Brothers, Creedence Clearwater.
Oh yeah.
But we also would throw in, like back in those days, Paul Anka was very popular. Gordon Lightfoot. The Canadian content regulations came in 73, so we had to start going after Canadian content.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of people you never heard of all of a sudden started getting a lot of airplay.
How long were you in Sarnia for?
I left Sarnia in, real late June of 1977. I got offered a job. Some guy, a guy called me up, and he eventually became my agent. A guy by the name of Bob Payne. He called me up and he said, "Look," he said, "I've got a station out west in Canada that's looking for a midday guy to do from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m." Yeah, and I said, "Yeah, how much are they going to pay for that?" And he told me, and the pay was almost exactly double what I was making here in Sarnia.
Oh wow!
So I said, "Oh, okay, get me on the bus."
Yeah.
So yeah, I packed up all my stuff and I moved out there, and I think I went on the air, if I'm not mistaken, it was the weekend of July 1st of 1977.
Awesome. So Canada Day.
Yeah.
Perfect time to start. Did you spend any time down at the Stampede while you were down there?
Well, no, I wasn't in Calgary. This was in Brandon, Manitoba.
Oh, okay.
And the station, people don't know much about this station, but it was a killer. It was 50,000 watts, just like CKLW was. And we covered, 3 provinces and half a dozen states or a dozen states. It was a real monster of a radio station.
That's awesome. So what was it like going from Sarnia to there?
Well, other than the fact that you have to get to know the city and you have to get to know the people and the people you work with, it was about the same, because Brandon is about the same size as Sarnia.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And actually what I did before I went, I got a hold of the Chamber of Commerce and I said, "Could you send me any newspapers or magazines or literature about Brandon?" So I read up about it. So I kind of knew what I was looking at before I got there.
That's awesome. When did you did make the move to Calgary eventually? When did you make that move?
Oh, I left Brandon in the fall of '79.
Did you have a lot of cool experiences in Brandon, or did?
Yeah. It was a wonderful time. I learned to, not having been from the West, but while I was in Brandon, I learned to love the Western lifestyle. I learned to love rodeo. Boy, I really got into rodeo when I was out there.
Wow.
And also, I got to be the color man for the Brandon Wheat Kings for 3 years.
Oh, no way. How was that experience?
Oh, that was awesome. I got to see some of the best hockey players you've ever seen. Dave Semenko was still playing junior when I started doing that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For sure. When was it hard doing the hockey stuff, or did you watch a lot of hockey back then?
No, I was really into hockey at the time. The one of the most interesting parts is, and I'm sure people don't realize this, we did a Canada-Russia junior series. They played in Brandon, and the Russian executives came right to the radio station. And we were radio and TV. We were everything all in one. But they came right to the radio station and sat us down in a boardroom with a pronunciation list to make sure that we pronounced the names of those Russian hockey players properly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was that tough for you, or did you figure?
Well, you just kind of pronounce them out phonetically,
Yeah.
We
They can
managed to get it through.
Yeah, they kind of put the hyphens in between the names if it's if it's a tough one, and they'll spell it out differently.
Oh yeah. Well, I even made notes. I mean, I'd see a name that almost had no vowels in it, and put little notes about how to pronounce this properly and stuff like that.
Let's pedal back a little bit back to the Sarnia days. Were there some memories from back then that you remember quite fondly that were some cool experiences?
One of the things that I remember most, and again, I can't remember what year it was. It must have been 74, but we had a major storm, major winter storm. And out in the back parking lot, the snow was probably 4 feet deep.
Holy.
And I couldn't get my car out. I had been working midnights. I had a newsman by the name of Jerry Paxton, and he managed to come into the station. The engineer, Ron Sibbett, was there, and I think that was about it. There was only 3 or 4 of us actually ran that station for more than 24 hours.
Wow.
Because nobody could get in. And the guy in town, he called up and said that he was listening. And he says, I work at a pizza shop. He says, I'll tell you what, you guys can have all the free pizza you want. I've got a Jeep 4x4 and I can get it to you. All we had to do was keep mentioning his business.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, it was a freebie advertisement for him. We probably shouldn't have done it, but boy, we got some great pizzas out of it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
One of the things, I was talking with my old buddy Alex Paler about this the other day.
Mm-hmm.
When we did remotes, we had to wear a tuxedo all the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had right next to the radio station was a place called Jeff's Formal Wear, and Jeff had all our measurements. And if we were doing a remote, we would call him up, say, "Okay, Jeff, I'm doing this on Saturday. Here's what I need," and you go over there and he'd outfit you with a tux.
Yeah, you don't see that too much anymore. You usually just see just a branded T-shirt and maybe if you're lucky, some dress pants on.
Yeah.
Any other memories from the Sarnia days?
Oh, I'm just trying to think.
Was the station around back then?
No. Oh,
No.
it was called, yes, it was. I'm sorry. It was Campbell Street Station then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was there anything from that you guys were involved with, or?
Not too much. I'm sure we probably were involved in some acts because I know some of the acts that were there came up to the station and, for interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah. Who were some of the names back then that you got to interview at that station?
Oh, boy, the Stampeders.
Oh, cool.
Stampeders for one. Edward Bear. Who else? Oh, there was a local group here called The Ring, and they were just awesome. They were amazing, these guys. And some of them are still around town. 2 of them are still alive and living here in Sarnia. But The Ring, who else? I know a name you'll be familiar with for his real name, Bobby Ritchie.
Oh, yeah.
Kid Rock. He played there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
At Campbell Street. I never got to see him, though. I think I had probably left about the time he came there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the Manitoba. Like, what was it like out there? Like, what was it like out there for the radio side of things? Like, did you have any cool experiences there?
Yeah, I had a lot of good experiences. We got to, because some of the smaller towns out there, uh, if you go out and we used to do Labor Day parades and Canada Day and all that, but the people are they're in awe when they see you on a float.
Yeah.
It's just amazing the way people react to you when they see you. People are so friendly out there. It's just incredible. Just incredible. I know I've got one story here that relates to Christmas, and anybody that's in radio will know. The way it worked was if you were single, you had to work on Christmas, and you got New Year's off. So I was working leading up to Christmas. It was the 24th, as a matter of fact. And Aaron, you would know what voice tracking is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We were doing voice tracking for Christmas drop-ins for TV. And I was on one side of the console, and my program director, Ken Hardy, was on the other side of the console. And we would read these little 15-second clips, so-and-so's meat and grocery store wishes you a very Merry Christmas, things like that. And we were in that studio for 16 hours straight.
Holy.
Yeah, I would read one, he would read one. Well, by the end of the 16 hours, we were both so giddy, and the last one, I had to read the very last one, and we're just, you're all hyped up. This is the last one, man. Yeah, we can go home and we can have a drink and we can, I'm all hyped up, and I start reading it. Wishes you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Looking forward to serving your family in the upcoming year from so-and-so's funeral home. And I read that and I went, oh no, what did I just say? And Ken and I both fell apart. We both had to leave the studio. We stopped the tape, both had to leave the studio, and I couldn't go back in. I was sitting on the floor out in the hallway laughing my tail off. And here's the fun. And Ken went back in and finished it off. Here's the funny part. Ken left about a year after that and went on to another radio station. He is now a member of Parliament.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, good guy, really good guy. Yeah,
that's awesome. And in Manitoba, yeah.
Yeah. Another one. This, I'm sure this hasn't happened to you yet in broadcast, but I had just got to Brandon. I'd only been there like 2 days, and I'm on the air, nervous as hell, and I grab my coffee cup and I'm going out around to the coffee room to get a cup of coffee, and there's an older guy standing in the hall. I didn't know who he was, just an older man, very well dressed, and he looks at me and he says, "I heard what you just said on the air, son." He says, "and I can't tolerate that in my station. Get out of here. You're fired. Go." And what? I've been here 2 days. I'm fired already? I go into the coffee room, and who's in there? Who knows more about what's going on at any business? And I'm sure you've seen this from being around the radio stations. The janitor. The janitor knows more about the insides of what's going on. He says to me, "Was that you old JB was yelling at out there?" And I said, "Yeah, he fired me, man. I can't believe it." He says, "He has Alzheimer's. The man can't remember what he did yesterday." He said, "Just go back out and introduce yourself to him." So what? He just fired me. I'm not going to introduce myself. Anyway, I walked out, put my hand out. Said, "Mr. Craig," I said, "awfully glad to meet you. Chuck Ingram, I just started you." "Oh, you're the new guy. Said, I've heard a lot of good things about you." I went back into that control room, and I'll tell you, I don't think I breathed for about an hour.
That's hilarious.
My heart was just pounding. But those are the things that happen to you,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I had a control room catch on fire on me one time. Same place.
No way.
Yeah, the control room there in Brandon had a skylight in the roof. And I can hear people walking around on the roof, and I'm thinking, what's going on? And I'm looking up, and I can see black smoke. And then all of a sudden I see flames. And I'm thinking, what the heck's going on? I go out to see if anybody knows what's happening. And there was a firefighter in the hall with several other people, and they told me to stay out of the control room, that the air conditioning unit above the control room had caught fire, and they were worried about it spreading on the roof. So,
Oh no,
yeah.
that's crazy. You mentioned like how you went to Manitoba from Sarnia for the money aspect. Like, was that always something in the radio world that was tough, like the money side of things? Like, because you told me, I know you told me before, like you had another job as well. You were a real estate agent.
Oh, that was after. That was way after.
Okay.
I left Brandon in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
Again, my agent got me this job in Grand Prairie, Alberta. I'd never even heard of Grand Prairie, Alberta.
Yeah.
But he said it's a country station. And I remember I said to him, I can't remember exactly what I said, but the money, again, was greater than what I was making in Brandon.
Yeah.
So I remember saying to him something like, well, yahoo, buckaroo, looks like we're going to move to Grand Prairie. And my wife was standing there, and she said, oh, no, don't tell me we're moving. Yes, we are, dear.
Yeah.
But I moved up to Grand Prairie, and that was a real experience up there. First of all, I had never experienced a northern Alberta winter. And you think it's cold here today or the last few days?
Yeah.
Wrong. The coldest I ever saw was minus 55.
Oh, wow.
It was cold.
Yeah, that's too cold for me.
So, me too.
Yeah.
Summers are really nice. We had a wonderful time up there. And my whole family, we really loved it. But then, be darned if one day, and I didn't get a call from Steve Glenn. And I knew Steve from here in Sarnia.
Right.
And Steve says, I'm in Calgary right now. He says, and I'm the program director at a brand new country station. How'd you like to come and work for me? Whoa, you got it, Steve. I always liked Steve. I always got along great with him. So, yeah, I packed up and moved to Calgary, surprisingly for the same money that I was making in Grand Prairie. But moved down to Calgary, stayed there at that station for 3 years.
Got into the bar industry too, didn't you?
Well, this was after. Yeah.
Okay.
I went to another station after, kind of an adult contemporary station afterwards. We're doing mornings there for 3 years. But at the same time, I got offered this job at, at the Ranchman's in Calgary as the DJ. And I went there and I just had a blast. I had a blast working at the Ranchman's. The station I was at switched formats. They went from contemporary music to all talk, all sports, all news, that type of thing.
Okay.
So they gave us the choice of staying there as board operators or leaving. So I chose to leave. And I stayed at the Ranchman's.
Okay, cool.
I stayed there. I stayed at the Ranchman's for 8 years. That was an amazing experience working there. And it was after I left the Ranchman's in 1992, I believe it was, 92 or 93, that I got my real estate license and I sold real estate out west.
Oh, that's awesome.
Working at the Ranchman's was just incredible. I got to meet...
I was just going to ask, like, what kind of acts were they bringing in there? Because I've seen lots of pictures on, like, you've posted before, like this one, for instance.
Yeah, that one. Kenny never played there as an act, but he did come in there and would get up and sing one or two songs with the band.
So is this like a big music venue then? Yeah, the Ranchman?
Oh, yeah. It's at the time, it was the largest country nightclub in Canada.
Oh, wow.
It legally holds, I think, 1,250 people. It's huge. Wow. It's huge. It's closed down now, unfortunately. The owner died several years ago, and the people who bought it just didn't have any interest in maintaining it. And then, of course, along came COVID, and they went into bankruptcy, and now everything's been sold.
Oh, yeah. That's too bad.
The fortunate part is the cowboys that hung out there, they would donate their trophy buckles and trophy saddles and all stuff. The rafters were just lined with saddles.
Speaking of buckles, I seen this picture too.
Yeah, that's John Anderson.
Where is that? Where was that at? Was that in...
That was taken down one of the lower levels at the Saddle Dome, as a matter of fact.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, John, I was on the committee. I was on the committee to hire the entertainment for the Saddle Dome.
Oh, wow.
And the Saddle Dome wasn't even open yet.
Yeah.
Here we're trying to get people. And we're sitting there, and 5 or 6 of us trying to decide who to get and what it's going to cost. And I had seen John Anderson on TV the night before. And I said, look, we're looking for a good country act. This was to open up what's called the Rodeo Royal. It's a spring rodeo. It's an indoor rodeo in Calgary. And I said, why don't we see if we can get a hold of this John Anderson guy? Because I said, he's real traditional old country, but he's a younger guy, and he would fit right in with, the format of the whole Rodeo Royal thing.
For sure.
So we got a hold of his agent, and he said, yeah, we can be in Calgary in those dates. He says, we'll do 2 shows a night for 2 nights in a row for $10,000. And they said, well, that's a lot of money, but okay, yeah, we'll pay it.
Yeah.
The next night, John Anderson won what's called the Horizon Award, which is like an up-and-coming star, and his price went to $50,000 a show.
After negotiating, or
no, he didn't. He stuck with his original $10,000 for the 2 days.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Wow.
Yeah, he did, and that picture was taken down in the basement, or not in the basement, but in one of the dressing rooms at the Saddle Dome. You can see it's a CKRY buckle. That was the country station I was at the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then pictures like this.
Ricky Skaggs, I emceed his show at the Jubilee Auditorium in Calgary twice, actually, I think it was.
Are these all experiences you got through like radio? Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's other pictures up there somewhere of George Strait. I've actually that's Guy. Guy Clark.
Nice.
I flew my mother out to Calgary for Mother's Day, and George Strait was playing at the Jubilee Auditorium, and I was the MC. And I remember after the show, I took my mother backstage, and she was so shy of meeting George Strait because she had heard him on the radio so many times. But it was good. Who else did I do? Ian Tyson. I got to be good friends with Ian Tyson out there. Who else? But having worked at the Ranchmans, every celebrity in the world came through there.
Yeah. Did you ever find yourself like having trouble with like technology over time as it evolved? Like,
with at the club, you mean?
At the club, or even just like even as a radio DJ, or did they basically just have all that set up for you and you just go in and do your thing?
When I first went to the Ranchmans, everything was done on the videos were all run on tape, and everything was on record.
Yeah,
it was all record. And I went and talked to the owner one day and said, "Look, we got to upgrade this a bit and make it more compatible for storage." Said, we've got to change everything over to CD. Okay, he says, you do what you have to do and just let me know the bills. And I converted the whole place over to CD. We put in some better speakers, a better lighting system. And I kind of stayed up on it that way.
Yeah.
Once I got out of there, though, I wasn't working in radio for a while because, again, I was doing real estate. So I lost touch with the technology, like the computer screen and the automated programming and all that. That's why over at Playfair, I'm sure you noticed that I did everything manually off of CD players.
Yeah, same with me, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right, you did too.
Yeah, that's honestly, I love having the CDs.
Well, I like it because I felt I had better control of the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
If somebody were to call up and say, hey, I want to hear Joe Jones and his Naughty Nose Pickers, let me get it here, and I go through my CDs and find it, and I could play it within 1 or 2 songs.
For sure.
But with the automation, you might not be able to find it.
Was there freedom back then? Because I know, like nowadays, like on definitely mainstream radio, you can't play anything that you want to. Like, could you play some of the songs that people would call in and like ask to play, or was there like kind of a?
There were restrictions. Yeah, you couldn't. like working at a country station, if somebody called up and said, play Led Zeppelin, well, you weren't going to do it.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, like, could you play like a local artist when you wanted to, if you wanted to?
In Grand Prairie, we could, yes.
Yeah.
Calgary, we played a few local artists, but Grand Prairie, you could play a lot of local artists up there too.
I guess it just kind of matter. It's based on where you are and what the rules are, I guess, with different radio stations.
Yeah, that and what the audience will accept. Now, most of the local artists we could get away with it too because they were all Canadian content. They were all Canadian artists.
Mm-hmm.
So the CRTC just loved that.
Mm-hmm.
When you'd play somebody that was Canadian.
Has that changed over time, like the CRTC and stuff, like the way that they regulate things?
I haven't really kept up on it, but I don't think the regulations have changed that much.
No.
In the last 30 years.
Fair enough.
So I know when it came in 1973, boy, we were sure scrambling to find music.
Yeah.
Gordon Lightfoot and Anne Murray got played way overplayed.
Yeah, for sure. But when did you make the move back to Sarnia after Calgary?
I was in Calgary and selling real estate. The market out there had taken a dive. I mean, at that time you couldn't even give houses away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I went online looking for a job, and I thought, well, geez, I'd kind of like to move back to Sarnia. It's a nice town to live in. You got the lakes, and all that stuff. And I found a job, and I applied for it. Well, the next day I get a phone call, and it turns out the guy that was doing the hiring is a guy that used to date my sister.
Oh, okay.
So he said, when can you be back here? And I came back right away to work for a private contractor, actually under contract to Dow Chemical.
Okay, cool, nice.
And I worked for them for 10 years through the demolition of Dow.
Nice. And then what did you do after that?
I kind of retired.
Yeah, because I remember you spent some time at Dallas, right?
Oh, yeah, I was working part-time at Dallas, too. I worked there for, 8 years.
Mm-hmm. That was a fun place because I even went there as a kid. They had teen dances sometimes, and yeah, it was a really fun place.
Oh yeah, it was a great place to work, and again, great staff. I loved the staff out there. They just they were a blast to work for.
You got to see Sarnia kind of grow a lot over the last 20 years. Say, what have you enjoyed watching grow the most?
It's hard to say. I would say the expansion out towards Brights Grove and all that, incorporating Brights Grove into the city.
Yeah.
The houses along Lakeshore, a lot of them that I remembered from back in the 70s even, were just little one-room cottages.
Yeah, they've evolved a lot.
Oh, people would tear them down and put up, $1 million houses now.
Yeah.
Even I had an uncle that had a place out on the Lakeshore right near, well, there's been a lot in the paper about the area, Centennial Avenue. It's just off the end of Indian Road. And it was a beautiful spot. My uncle had this house down there, and now I believe the house has been being torn down to put in a new development.
Oh, yeah.
I used to go there all the time as a kid. Look, where'd you go, Aaron? I think I'm on the air live, it says, but Aaron's not there.
I don't know what happened there.
Here he comes. There you are.
My own show.
Yeah, there you go.
That's crazy.
You got to keep your feet away from the power plugs.
I guess so, yeah. That's crazy. First time that's ever happened.
But Sarnia's done quite nicely. I mean, to see the Sting playing here, at that caliber of hockey, it's...
Did you watch a lot of that when you came back? Working at Dow?
Did I watch what? I'm sorry, you're fading in and out here a bit.
Maybe the mic. Did you watch a lot of the Sting?
Not really. I would, I seen a few games, but didn't get to go to too many.
Yeah, fair enough. What other stuff throughout your career in radio? When you got back to Sarnia, let's talk a little bit about the Playfair days because, did you do any radio when you got back to Sarnia? Were you involved with the Eagle at all before?
No, I wasn't. I was Actually, when I was working at Dallas, I used to do their radio commercials for them. I would go into CHOK and do the commercials in there.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, that's Rico. Rico produced a lot of the spots that I did.
That's
I don't know if
awesome.
you knew. I don't know. Was he there when you were there
Where at?
at CHOK?
No, I don't think so.
He was a good guy. He good
Yeah.
producer. Yeah, I just did radio commercials, and pretty much stuck with Dallas at night and Dow Chemical in the daytime.
Yeah, fair enough. When was this picture from? Was this from?
That picture is from, oh boy, I'll say, woo.
Was that from the Playfair days? No.
No, not
No.
quite.
No.
It's almost. That's Jenny Lynn Shepherd that's in the picture with me and Jeff Black.
I recognize Jeff. That's why I grabbed it.
Yeah. No, Jenny Lynn was playing a
So was
dance.
country something you were always kind of keeping up on after like you got out of the radio industry?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I after working in it for so long, I just kind of got it. It became a part of me. I
Yeah.
got to like it, and I mean, I still keep up on all kinds of music except for rap and stuff like that. I don't have much use for that. But anyway, yeah, I kept up with country all the way along.
When did you notice like the popularity, I guess, or like people going out? Because you were at Dallas, and that was a pretty busy bar. Like, when did you notice like things kind of like starting to go downhill for that industry?
I can tell you the exact date. It was April the 1st was the date.
Yeah.
That was the night that the smoking bylaw came into effect.
Oh yeah.
We were packed that night, and at midnight is when the law came into effect, and 3 or 4 of the anti-smoking cops came walking in just like that, and we went from, I don't know how many people would be in Dallas, 200, 220 at night. We went down to about 30, just like that. Bang, gone.
Wow.
And I hate to say that because I don't smoke anymore, but yeah, we lost, and every bar in town will tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
That they lost the crowd that night. And I'm sure you've seen it. You're in a bar watching a band, and you go outside to see what's going on, and there's still 30 or 40 people outside having a smoke.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where they could be inside buying a beer.
Yeah.
And they're not.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's I mean, it's all for the best, I guess, that people don't smoke anymore, but that's the night that I noticed it. It was such a dramatic cutoff.
What were some of the crazy times out there throughout your 8-year?
At Dallas?
Yeah.
The craziest time of all was, who was playing there? Joan Spalding was playing out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a camera. We had surveillance cameras in there, too. And I had a camera right above me. And, excuse me, this guy, I watched him because he seemed like he was a little edgy, but he came walking down along the side of the bar and stood beside the dance floor. And next thing I know, I see something squirting out of his pocket. And then everybody's just clearing the room. He sprayed tear gas.
Oh, wow.
Across the dance floor onto the band. I had to get outside because I couldn't breathe at all. And then he left. Him and his buddies left. They did the same thing down at Global Donuts, just down the street from Dallas, down London Line from Dallas.
Wow.
And they had done it at, I think they, oh golly, I think it was the Balmoral that they had done it at too. And the cops were chasing this guy. They were looking for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, they did catch him down at Global Donuts, and they brought him back, and myself and several other people and several customers, we all identified the guy. But the funny part was when he got charged, I forget what he was charged with, but when it went to court, because I worked for Dallas, I was considered a victim.
Right.
So I had to go and testify. And I'm up there on the stand and giving the best testimony I can, I guess. And finally, and we had the videotape too.
Yeah.
and they had shown the tape a couple of times. He's trying to say that somebody fired that tear gas over his shoulder, and you could see it plainly. It came from his hip. He had the tear
in
gas
his pocket or something.
pocket and fired it out. But the defense attorney asked me while I was on the stand, how could I be positive? I mean, I wear glasses, and the club was dark, and how did I know that was the same guy?
Yeah.
And I said, because he's got the same clothes on. And the defense attorney looked at me and said, what? I said, yeah, if you can run the tape, you'll see. And sure enough, he had the same pants, the same shirt. And the defense attorney just kind of shut up and walked away after that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the guy got some time for it too. I don't know how many, 3 years?
Holy.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
If I remember correctly. But
yeah. Was there any other wild stories from any of the bars, I guess, in Calgary or?
Well, Calgary, I was there when they filmed Cool Runnings.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And but the fight scene that's in the movie never happened.
Oh.
That was all shot in an afternoon. They come in and set it up and did that. But the actual fight as far between the German team and the Jamaican team or whatever, that never really happened.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm just trying to think, man. There's so many stories. Oh, one time, we had Tanya Tucker playing in the Ranchman. She came to play there, and I got to be really decent friends with her, and had a good time with her.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after the Olympics in '89, Tanya Tucker came back. This time she's playing at the Saddle Dome, and one of the waitresses came over to me, and I was in the DJ booth, and she said, "There's a really pretty girl up in the executive in the loft. We had a loft area for kind of a executive type thing, so VIP loft, I guess you could call it." He said, "This really pretty girl up there, she sent you down this drink." Oh, okay, well, thank you, whoever it was. And I turned around and looked up and waved. "Hey, how are you? When the band's on, I'll come up and see you." And the waitress says, "Do you know her?" And I said, "Yeah, that's Tanya Tucker." "It is not." "Yes, it is. That's Tanya Tucker." So when the band went back on, I took the waitress up and introduced her to Tanya Tucker.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had lots of celebrities there. I can remember Tommy Chong. I used to run into him all the time. Floyd Sneed, who was the drummer with Three Dog Night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was from Calgary too, and he was friends with the owner there. And he'd get up and jam with the band on stage and play a few songs. And there was a band there. One time I forget the name of the band, but the lead singer's name was Jack Daniels. That's the name he used anyway.
Yeah.
And he was on stage singing an Ian Tyson song. And Ian came walking in the door beside me, and he listened for a second. He says, "I'll be right back." And he went down the side of the bar, climbed over the railing on the stage, and started singing harmony with the song. Well, this Jack Daniels, you should have seen the look on his face. You'd have think somebody crapped in his hand, And then Ian, after the song was over, he stepped over the rail, walked back, finished his drink, and said, "I'll see you later. I got to get home." And away he went.
Oh, wow.
Well, at the end of the set, this Jack Daniels come back. He said, "Did you see that big guy get up on stage?" I said, "Yeah, I saw him." He said, "He scared the hell out of me." I said, "I don't know why." I said, "He wrote the song." "Oh, no, Ian Tyson wrote that." I said, "Well, who do you think that guy was?" "That was Ian Tyson." "Oh, man, where'd he go? I want to meet him." He didn't know who he was.
That's hilarious.
He said he said it scared the hell out of him. He said, "But boy, can that guy ever sing harmony?"
Yeah.
No kidding.
That's hilarious.
Oh, Aaron, I can't tell you that there's so many good times working at the Ranchmans. I just can't tell you all of them, and all the celebrities having to MC some of these people at the Saddle Dome and at the Jubilee Auditorium. And
yeah.
Katarina Witt, I don't know if you remember her or not. She was a gold medal figure skater. And I remember I used to help the waitresses out, especially during busy times. I would go back in the kitchen and put on a pot of coffee so that they always had something back there for them. Mm-hmm. I started back into the kitchen one time, and I opened the door, and there's Katarina Witt standing there. And I was just awestruck. Here's this tall, gorgeous woman who's very obviously an athlete, mm-hmm. and she just stunned me. She was so attractive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What you mentioned earlier, like the Playfair, what was it like getting back into it after all that time and getting back into the radio world?
Oh, I tell you, when Steve called
How did that all come to fruition?
I think I ran into Steve somewhere. Can't remember where, or he called me, one or the other. But
yeah,
he asked me. He said, "Do you want to get back into radio?" He says, "I'm thinking about putting this Playfair radio station on the air." And I said, "Yes, I'll do it." I didn't even think twice. And so we got over there and started things up. I mean, and you know what it was like in that first control room. It was kind of on a shoestring.
Yeah.
You never knew if you were going to get out or not.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm really proud of, you saw the second control room. Yeah, you saw the second one.
Yeah.
Just inside the main door. I designed that.
That's
as far
awesome.
for using it, for ease of use and you know all that. And I told Keith. I told Keith to make sure you put that window in there so the people, when they walk in the hallway, they can see you.
Yeah.
Because people still relate to radio that way. If they can see the DJ, wow, look at that,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I had them put that window in there, and I designed all that, and I'll tell you, and I had a blast. I just had a blast working over there. It was.
Were you doing Tuesdays and Thursdays at first?
Yes.
Yeah. What was it, 2 to 4 every Tuesday and Thursday?
I think it was 1 to 4.
1 to 4, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any, was it tough getting into it after all that time, or?
No, not at all.
No,
it was like breathing. I mean, I
was just gonna say, it felt like you were
started doing it, and if I could hit one button after the other and keep the sequence tight, I was happy.
Yeah, for sure. Have you made lots of connections and stuff from back in the day through doing it again?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and so did you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A lot of great connections.
Yeah, definitely.
Fans, boy.
Yeah.
But I can't say enough about Steve and giving me the opportunity to do that again, because he kind of bolstered my life again, give me a reason to do things.
For sure. And you mentioned earlier you're doing the shuttle thing out at Sawmill. How long have you been doing that for, or were you doing that for?
I did that for about 10 years. But I don't think you ever met her. My girlfriend, Sandy, she was the wedding coordinator out there.
Right, yeah.
And and we worked on entertainment together, her and I, too, making sure they got the right entertainers out there. And any that we didn't know, some other people did. So, but for weddings, I would drive the shuttle, because it's a long way out of town, let's face it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you don't want people, coming off a wedding after they've been drinking all night. And so I used to drive people home.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was good. And it was great for golf tournaments, too.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of that. And to be honest with you, the money was really good.
Yeah.
The club paid me well for it. But the tips, I would make more in tips in a night than I would make in a paycheck.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a really good feeling.
Yeah,
actually, Paul Dumond was the one who told me to have you on here, and he said you'd have lots of really cool stories. And
Paul's a great guy, man.
Yeah,
he is, and
he's someone who I'm going to have on here actually pretty soon. We're going to have a conversation about all that he's done and stuff, because I know he's got a really cool story.
I'd be over at his place almost every day if it weren't for my back. Sandy bought me golf lessons, and I love golf. I really Sandy bought me golf lessons, and I think I went out and had 2 or 3 lessons with Paul, and then my back started giving me problems. I couldn't even stand up straight, and
Oh no.
yeah, and it still is. So, and then I never did finish off using all those golf lessons. And again, if I were to even go down to his place now, was it Sticks
Sticks and Stones. Yeah, that's where I was working.
Oh, you working down there now?
Yeah, I was working before the shutdown and everything happened. I was working there for about 3 months, and yeah, I was really liking it.
Yeah, I thought you were too, because I used to see it online. Yeah, yeah, that's an excellent idea. I mean, I often said, well, I belong to Frank Pinsino used to have an indoor golf thing.
Oh yeah,
out on London Line, and yeah, I used to go there every Sunday and play in an indoor league there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I often said if somebody could come up with a more up-to-date, more modern facility, they could make some money, because I belong to an indoor club out in Calgary too. And I thought during the wintertime, that's great.
Oh yeah.
You take a few clubs with you that you're going to need.
So you always played, yeah?
Pardon me?
You always played golf growing up?
No, I didn't.
No?
I played a little bit when I was a young kid, 12 or 13, and then just never did it again until I was... it'd probably be in the early 90s out in Calgary.
Oh yeah.
And I used to hang out in this one club, and the guys were saying, well, they're having a golf tournament, and they're giving away a car and all this stuff. And hey, sign me up.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that hung out in the club, I needed a set of left-handed clubs. So he said, oh, I got an old roommate that's left these in my garage. I haven't seen him in years. You might as well take them. So I ended up with a set of clubs that way, and then
perfect.
Ended up going and buying my own clubs, and now I've since bought another decent set of clubs. And
nice. And
they're sitting back here.
Yeah.
Just gathering dust right now.
Yeah, well.
I love the game, though. I mean, I just love playing it. I love... I used to go to Florida every year and play a lot of golf down there.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Just, yeah.
That's awesome.
Used to have a lot of fun down there.
Wicked.
Was supposed to play in a golf tournament years ago. Tiger Woods owns a bunch of golf courses around Florida.
Yeah.
And he set them up for kids. And the kids can go in there. These are mostly underprivileged kids. They can go in after school. They've got computers there they can do their homework on. They get a golf lesson. They get a decent meal. And, it's generally a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
And he had this tournament coming up. And my brother-in-law and I had signed up to play in it. I thought, boy, that'd be neat. And Tiger played too.
Yeah.
Be neat, even be on the same golf course with Tiger Woods. Wow, that'd be awesome. And that's when all the crap hit the fan, about Tiger with all the women that he screwed around with and stuff like that. So he decided not to show up.
Oh, yeah.
So we thought, well, they've got our entry money. It wasn't very much. It was like $10 or $15 to enter. They've got our entry money. We got to get back here to Sarnia anyway, so we packed up all our stuff and started heading back. Well, on the I-75 on the way back to Sarnia, we find, of course, Tiger didn't show up. He sent Charles Barkley in his place.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, man, that would have been a hoot to play golf with Barkley.
Yeah.
But I never got a chance to do that.
Yeah. That's too bad.
Yeah. But I can't say I have any regrets about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving around the country and all that.
Yeah, you got to experience a lot, for sure.
I got to experience a lot of stuff. And
for anyone who's trying to get into like the radio world or journalism or anything like that, or maybe even real estate, like, do you have any suggestions for them? Because I know me personally, you helped me out a lot. Like when I was starting out at Playfair, like it was my first ever like radio experience, really, and you like really helped me with like. I was always nervous, and you said, "Don't be nervous, man. Just go out there and do your thing." Like, it's you on the microphone.
I used to tell people, like, no matter, even to this day, I still get nervous before I open that mic.
Yeah,
you have to have that.
You wouldn't be able to tell with your voice.
Well, no, I guess not now, but that's experience.
Yeah,
you have to be able to contain yourself enough to say, "Okay, I'm going to do this."
Yeah.
And for somebody that's a raw rookie, never been in radio before, I always used to tell kids at Lambton College, read the newspaper, take the Observer, and read it. Don't read it in your head. Read it out loud.
Yeah.
Read it until you feel comfortable hearing what you're saying. And then I'm sure that helped a few anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely.
No, you had the I don't know what you want to call it, but you had the ambition to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I can see how you've progressed over the years.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I've learned from the best. So, you and Stevie D.
Stevie's amazing, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I wished he could have kept or could have got somebody in there to replace Michelle when she got her other job, because without her there, the switch over had to be done on that end.
Right.
So it just meant that there was no access for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
And then to find out that he's, sold off most of that gear that was in there now, and
yeah.
I mean, I could have if I'd have had a car. I don't have a car, so I just find I don't need one really.
Yeah. Oh yeah, especially in Sarnia.
Yeah, but I wasn't about to pay for a cab up to, to Point A back every day just to run that radio station.
Yeah, I hear you for sure.
So
definitely,
it's too bad. I mean, I really love Steve, and I had a blast being with him. Him and I, you weren't around most of the time, but in the afternoon, him and I would sit there and just joke with each other about different things, and talk. I'd be on the air and he'd start making cracks in the background,
Yeah.
But you can do that. It's on online radio is a lot different than commercial radio.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You can't see somebody walking into the studio
Did
here.
Did you like the freedom you had when you were there?
Oh yes, I loved it. I loved it. I played songs. Actually, I played them here by a guy named Wheeler Walker that you wouldn't play anywhere else.
Yeah,
you couldn't. It's what we used to call it, like party music back in the '60s. If you ever look him up on YouTube, Wheeler Walker Jr.
I will for sure.
The guy's name, and his songs are absolutely filthy. They're absolutely filthy.
Next tuning in, he says Steve did it at the Eagle as well.
Yeah, yes, Steve used to play some really weird. Glad to hear you tuning in, Nick. I thought he might be, because he mentioned earlier that I was going to be on here with you.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Nick at Coyote 103, somebody else in Sarnia who's been doing some absolutely amazing things with in the radio world and the Bridge FM.
Yes, he has been, and I usually have either one of them on when I'm down here working out. This was my radio studio. My woodworking shop is over there. My exercise equipment is back here. So when I'm working out, I either have on the Coyote or the Bridge.
That's awesome.
So Nick, there's a little shout out to you, man. You're doing very, very well with it.
Very well. Yeah, and I'd love to have him on here soon too, and we can have a conversation. I appreciate you. Yeah, definitely. Like, I'm just Stevie as well. Like, lots of people I'd love to have on and just have a good little chat with, because right now there's not much else to do, right? And I'm just trying to keep myself busy during. I was off for a month. I actually go back to school tomorrow for my second semester. Yeah, I'm taking sports and rec management right now. So
yeah, I know. I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah. Second semester starts tomorrow, so we'll see how it goes. And
good for you, man. Good for you. There's a big market in that field.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I didn't know how big it was until I went to school for it and seen everything that was available. So I'm looking forward to it. And I mean, who knows? Like, I have a huge, I love journalism, and I've been actually pushing them to get something into Lambton, like even just as an elective or something for along the journalism line or radio.
I don't know why they dropped that.
I think they have a photography and media course, but it's nothing like radio, right? It would be really cool, especially with like the basketball team. Hey, maybe even Nick, you're listening right now. Maybe you can slide in there and set something up, because it would be really cool if Lambton got something where the students can like go and either do a radio show and like.
Yeah, they could. I mean, that's big business in the States.
Yeah.
Is high school and college basketball, high school Friday night football games, and they're usually all done by amateurs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can't see why Lambton College couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. For sure. All right. Well, I don't want to take too much more of your time here today. What do you got planned for the rest of the week? You've been watching all the craziness that's been unfolding in the States, or trying to stay away from it?
I'll tell you. Yeah. I try to stay away from it. I went to school in the States, so I love the American people. I love their lifestyle, if you want to call it that. But when I see what's going on there right now, and I hate to say this, but I saw it coming 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I could see it coming. And when I see what's happening over there now, it just makes me sick.
I was just watching videos before this. There's already the armed rallies and stuff and protests that are going on in different states, like Ohio right now. They're at I think it's the Capitol or something. There's a bunch of them, different organizations and stuff, and it's just crazy to see. Like, never thought you'd see this, and all the coronavirus stuff. It's insane.
I don't know if you saw them this morning. I was watching. They had some more fresh footage from the Capitol building,
right?
With audio, and they had these. You could hear these guys talking and yelling, and the language was pretty bad. But I said that you see this crowd, and there's thousands and thousands of these people, and about 50% of them don't even have a mask on.
Yeah.
And how many of these guys are going to come down sick in the next little while?
Yeah.
I'm not a person who is against guns or anything like that. I've got guns. I've got weapons. But when I see these guys taking what I call taking advantage of these open carry laws, there's nothing in my world. If I want to carry a gun, fine, I'll carry a gun. But there's nothing in my world that says I have to have an AR-15.
No.
You know what I mean?
Not. Yeah, no.
I saw these guys this morning. They're starting to surround the Michigan State House too. Yeah. And they're all armed with. One guy had what looked like a .50 caliber.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you see them with like all different magazines and stuff in their vest, and it's just like it's mind blowing. I never thought I'd see this in this day and age.
No, me neither.
Aren't you glad you don't have to report on it?
Oh, I'd hate to be a reporter. Actually, the one reporter on CNN the other day, they actually took his microphone away from him, and his microphone was tied into his cell phone and smashed the cell phone.
Yeah, I seen that. It's terrible.
There's no need for it.
Yeah.
No, I don't see any need for it anyway. If you want to oppose the government, you oppose the government.
For sure.
But you don't have to do it violently.
Hope Jock Sampson is being safe in Ohio. And Brian Pillman Jr. Shout out to those guys.
I knew his dad. I knew Brian Pillman Sr.
Oh yeah, you met him?
I met him. Oh yeah, he was playing football, or he was trying to play football in Calgary.
They're actually doing a documentary right now. I don't know if you've heard of the Vice Dark Side of the Ring documentaries they've been doing. They did one on Bret Hart, the screw job, and they did one on Owen Hart. They've done a bunch of really good documentaries, but they're doing one on Brian Pillman, and
really?
A few of the indie wrestlers in Ontario actually I think are going to be involved with it. Channing Decker I think is involved with it, and it's been fun to watch because they tell these stories really, really good. I'll send you a link because I watched them all last year, and it was my first time getting into it, and I watched the season before, and it was really cool hearing some of these stories because you would never believe, like murder cases in wrestling and just all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. I got a cute story about Bret Hart.
Mm-hmm.
One club I was working at out in Calgary after I left the Ranchmans, I was working part-time in another bar, and we had one of the Cowboys was hurt anyway, and we had an auction for him to raise some money. And Bret Hart donated a guitar that had been autographed by Neil Young.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So he came in the bar, and he was up there kind of acting as auctioneer to auction off this guitar, and we got that done. And he was with his young son at the time, and when it was all done, he came over and shook my hand. Hey, thanks a lot. You guys are doing a great job, and getting this money for this cowboy. And he walked out the back door of the bar. Now, we were connected to a hotel, but the hotel was across the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
He walks across the parking lot, and I'm standing there at the door waving to him. And just before he goes into the hotel, this young couple came walking out the front door of the hotel. And they stood there and they looked, and you could just see the look on the guy's face. Like, holy crapola, that's Bret Hart.
Yeah.
They both just stood there with their mouths open, and Bret walked by them. Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
I was actually sitting in a bar watching, I guess it was one of the WrestleManias.
Was that Cowboys in Calgary you were talking about?
Oh,
Yeah.
that was before Cowboys opened up.
Okay.
This place was called, believe it or not, CHBA, named after it was Calgary Honky Tonk Bar Association, named after the Garth Brooks song.
Oh, I would have thought it was named after the Honky Tonk Man.
No. Yeah. He was a character.
Oh, yeah.
He used to wrestle in Calgary, too, at Stampede Wrestling.
Those were definitely the good days, for sure. Did you ever go to any of those events? Stampede Wrestling?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I went to a few of them, yeah.
Nice.
Brian Pillman, though, he actually dated a girl that I'm really, really good friends with.
Oh,
really
no
good.
way.
Yeah. And she now lives in Mexico. But Brian, he was a great guy. But you could never picture him being a wrestler.
Yeah.
Because he would come in. He would come into the Ranchman's on Friday. They taped the Stampede Wrestling. They taped it on Friday night and showed it on TV on Saturday. And he would come into the Ranchman's after the taping, and he was so much smaller than the other guys. I couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
When they told me he was a wrestler, of course, when they told me he was a football player too, I went, what? This guy's not very big.
Was he a big partier back then?
I would say no, not back then. I mean, we all know what he died from, but
yeah,
But he wasn't a big party. Ed Whalen, oh yes, I remember Ed Whalen quite well.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you joining me today, Chuck. I don't want to. I know we could probably. No, you're not taking up any of my time.
Not taking any of mine.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the conversation. It's been good.
Nothing I love talking about more than radio or country music, I love it. I could talk all day.
Yeah, for sure. And it takes our minds off what's going on in the world right now. So, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying. Did you, Nick, you might remember a fellow by the name of Kerry Brown. He was one of the wrestlers at Stampede Wrestling. And he worked with us at the Ranchman's as a doorman. And there was a big fight going on one night. Oh, it must have been 20, 30 guys. Australian cowboys against the Canadian cowboys or whatever. And this fight was going on. And Kerry Brown, he was a big guy. He was probably 6'2" or 6'3", weighed close to 400 pounds. And he just spread his arms out and went through that crowd and picked up 5 or 6 guys at a time and threw them out the back door.
Wow. Do you remember a guy named Gama Singh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he's actually one of the wrestlers that I bring to Sarnia. He's part of the Desi Hit Squad. I want to say it's the father of him, or I know they're related anyways. But
Could
yeah,
be his son.
Yeah, he's spent a lot of time actually with Impact Wrestling in Windsor, and I got the chance to meet him last year. He's acting like as a manager now, but it's cool to see like kind of all the ties to back in the day. And a lot of people nowadays will say like, wrestling's changed so much, it's not what it's used to, but there's still a lot of those like connections from back in the day of like Stampede Wrestling. Like it's cool to see all of that.
There was, when I was a teenager, I'd be about 15,
Mm-hmm.
and I started to get into weightlifting, a little bit of bodybuilding.
Oh yeah.
Again, we used to go down to the Vineyard, which was the Y at that time, and we'd be down in the weight room in the basement down there working out after school. And there was a wrestler that used to wrestle here in Sarnia called the Great Mephisto. Well, Mephisto is another word for the devil, right?
Yeah.
And everybody hated him. Oh, he was the baddest of bad guys. There was just no badder guy than him. And we're down there working out, and down the stairs comes this Mephisto. We're all just going, uh-oh, we're in trouble now. We're taking up his weight room here.
Yeah.
It turned out that he was the nicest guy you would ever meet. He showed us kids what we were doing wrong, how we wouldn't hurt ourselves, how to do exercises properly. He would spot for us. I mean, he was just the greatest
That's
guy
awesome.
in the
He
world.
was from Sarnia?
He was a cop here in Sarnia, yep.
Oh, no way. Is he still around, do you know?
No, he died a couple of years ago.
Fair enough.
But I won't give out his name because he was a policeman. I don't want to do that, but he was a really, really nice
Mephisto. That's all you got to know.
Great Mephisto, yeah.
Yeah.
He got stabbed one night. They used to have wrestling. You probably wouldn't be familiar with the old Kenwick Terrace building downtown.
No.
It was across the street. Well, you know where the Kenwick or the boat building is, the Kenwick building.
Yeah.
Well, just slightly up the street a bit on Christina is where Kenwick Terrace was. And it was a big dance hall, pavilion, big wide open place. And they used to have wrestling up there every Monday night. And I remember he came out of the ring one night and this little old lady stood up and stabbed him with a knitting needle.
Wow.
Yeah. They used to it's back then and just like now, it's taken pretty seriously. You know that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, it's, back then, definitely the most, I think. I think right when the Bret Hart thing happened, I think that kind of, like, opened the floodgates for people kind of taking it a little less believable. But, I mean, like you said there, like, that guy coming down to the weight room and you guys thinking you all got to scatter out. Like, you don't see that nowadays. Definitely.
No, I suppose not. No. One thing I will say about the wrestlers in today's world, they're in a lot better shape physically than the guys were back then.
Yeah, I can agree with that for sure. Definitely.
Right. Yeah, okay. I won't
No,
bore you
what
with
were you
that.
saying? No, I'm good. I'm good to keep talking.
I was a friend of mine dated this girl in Detroit, and a bunch of us went down to Detroit to pick her up, and we were going out. So I think we were going to a football game or something. But anyway, we got to her house, and her dad is out on the front lawn talking to the next door neighbor. And as soon as I saw the next door neighbor, I realized who it was. It was Larry Shane.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Larry Shane was the next door neighbor.
That's cool. Speaking of football, did you do any Imperials when you were in Sarnia back in the day?
I didn't, but this Jeff Murray that I mentioned a while ago, he did.
Okay.
Jeff Murray and Doug Fairway, they did the football games for the Imperials.
Did you ever pay attention to any of it or go watch any games? Or?
No, I just never had the time to.
Yeah, fair enough.
I would listen to it occasionally on the air to see what the guys were doing.
Definitely.
But no, there were some pretty darn good football players came out of this city, I'll tell you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we actually one that we played for last year for football. Cookie Gilchrist, that's his trophy there.
Oh yeah, I could tell you a story about Cookie Gilchrist, but I can't say it on the air.
Fair enough.
If you ever run into me, remind me about Cookie Gilchrist, and I'll tell you.
Of course, yeah, we'll do. Definitely, I'd love to hear that.
Oh yeah, it's one of the guys that actually played with Cookie. I worked with him. I worked at Polysar for a long time before I even got into radio, and one of the guys that I worked with played with Cookie.
Okay.
And he's the guy that told me the story, so I'll take it as being authentic.
Sounds good. I look forward to hearing that, and I really appreciate you joining me here today. As Nick just said, the Chiefs and Browns game's getting started. I don't know if you're a football guy, but
I'm not anymore. No,
honestly, I'm not after yesterday either. My Rams lost, so.
I used to go to the Browns twice a year.
Oh yeah, nice.
I had a cousin that lived in Cincinnati, and on the Canadian Thanksgiving, he would come up here, and we would drive down to Cleveland and watch the Browns and the Bengals play. And then on the American Thanksgiving, I would drive down to Cincinnati, and we'd go and watch the Browns and the Bengals play again.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
American friends down there can never figure out how we could drink so many beers. But they only have 3-point beer in Ohio at the time.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, their beers are like waters.
Yeah, very much.
All right, Chuck, I won't take too much more of your time. I appreciate you joining me. We'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah,
I appreciate it.
So it's been a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. It's nice to connect through like video and stuff, especially, like I said, through in this crazy time. It's really all we can do.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I seen you post the other day about like not being able to go down to the bridge. Like it's crazy. You never thought it would come to this.
Well, I'm a shipping nerd. I love the boats and the water.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I'm always on the YouTube has a channel, Port Huron Ship Chem, it's called, and they post the marine traffic, so you know when a certain ship is coming and all that. And the camera's actually in Port Huron, and you can see the ships coming in the lake or up the river or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But the camera's pointed at Sarnia, or Point Edward, I should say.
Yeah.
And I've just noticed in the last couple of days with the increase in the shutdowns and all that, there's no cars parked over on the Canadian side.
Wow.
None. Usually that Canadian side is packed all the time.
Yeah, just walkers and people. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah, well, hopefully we can get back to days sitting under the bridge. I think they're coming in the summer, and we'll be back to that in no time.
Well, I had somebody was a little critical of me this morning because I have said that as soon as these vaccines come out, I'll get one.
Yeah.
Well, with COPD, I don't want to take a chance, so I will get one.
Mm-hmm.
And the follow-up booster shot to it, too.
Yeah.
And this is a guy out in Alberta, and he said, oh, well, people are dying when they take those shots and this and that. And I said, hey, if you want to find out what vaccines can do for you, just ask somebody that's had the polio vaccine or the measles vaccine or the, on and on. Diphtheria was another one. All that. Those vaccines kept people alive.
Oh, yeah. And the people who are doing the research for them, they know what they're doing.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but that's another conversation. I'm sure we could talk on for hours and hours and hours on that one because
I'm sure we could.
We could have like a talk show and have like people commenting in for sure. But I don't want to take too much more of your time. Like I said, thank you so much for joining me again today, Chuck.
No problem, Aaron. Thank you.
Episode number 18. We've officially broken the record for the longest episode. So
really? Oh, I could go for another couple hours.
Me too. Me too. All right, Chuck, I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, and we'll reconnect. Hopefully, once things open up, we can go for a coffee or lunch or something.
Love that. Love to.
Sounds good, Chuck. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. All right, that was Chuck Howard joining me for episode number 18 of the Chem Valley Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Everyone, just be good to each other and stay positive, and we'll get through this. Have a great day.